Okay, deal of the month. Exciting. First person is Mark Orman. Give him a round of applause, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a pretty simple deal and very basic. There's not a whole lot of details to it. I'm also a licensed general contractor, and one of the guys that does some work for me called me up and says, hey, I got a guy who's got a 3-2 concrete block in Pine Hills. He wants 25 for it. Do you think you could do something? Well, I said, yeah, I could definitely do that. So I contacted the guy, I emailed him, and he said, no, it's not 25, it's 35. It's like, maybe I can still do something with it. So I called this friend of mine, and I've known him for a while, that I've known from CFRI, and I know he's still in the market for houses, and I said, well, I sent him out to come and look at it. I says, can you do 40 on this house? And because I'm getting it for 35, I figured I'd wholesale it out at 5. And he looked the place over, and he called me back the next day and says, I can't do it. That's, I can't do 40. So I emailed back the guy who owns it, and I said, sorry, thank you. And then he emails me back. He says, would you do it for 30? I didn't expect that. Now, I know you negotiate a lot, but I just didn't expect it. I thought that was his price. And so I figured, well, let me see if I could stretch this just a little bit more. I says, how about 27? And he says, 27 it is. So I got the guy who turned down the 40, and I said, how about 35? And he said, Mark, I'm going on vacation, and I'll close it, when I get back, and I don't have time to sign any paperwork for you. Can we do a handshake deal? I said, of course. I've known this guy for a long time. I've done deals with him. He's called me to do home inspections, insurance inspections for him. So I said, yeah, there's no problem with that. So he went on his vacation. He came back, closed it. Okay, so there was a total of $8,000 from $27,000 to $35,000. And honestly, I probably could have given the guy who brought this, the subcontractor that does work for me, handyman, whatever, that I probably could have given him $1,000 and he would have been ecstatic. But I just decided I'm going to split it in half with him. There's always more money around. That's the way I look at it. It always comes. So anyway, I gave him half. I gave him 4. I took 4. And, I think he's going to be looking for more houses. So what do you think? So you see a lot of times these, there's a lot of details and stuff like that. I didn't retail it. The guy who bought it from me is going to, he's going to keep it as a rental because he's got like 100 rentals. So that's what he does.
And what's the value of the property?
Well, that's a good question. I thought about that. I'm thinking it's probably mid-70s. Yeah. Okay. So, for a rental, it could use a little bit of work, but there was a tenant in there, but got to evict the person that's in there. That's one of the things that had to do, but that's about it. It's pretty basic. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything about
okay.
it. But
all right. The reason why, when Mark told me about the deal, I'm like, oh, it's so simple.
I know.
But we discussed it, yes. And the reason why I agreed to have him here is because we forget about the basics, number one. And number two, he's been with CFRI for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Yes? And what is your primary business here as a CFRI business member?
I'm a home inspector. Okay.
Yes.
And
yeah. Famous for taking care of permits,
yes,
permitting.
Yes. A lot of times people have open permits. Realtors have a big problem with that. There's an open permit. Somebody put on a roof, or somebody did a enclosed garage or something, and they never got it finalized out or whatever. And this thing is sticking out, and they can't close it without that. So I take care of those for people.
So here's the point I'm making. He's a CFRI business member, and many people in here know him as an inspector, but the point is that regardless of what your other business is, even though you are a real estate investor, you should let everybody know what you do, because you never know who's going to bring you a deal. And that's the lesson, that's the point of this deal of the month, right?
Exactly, yes it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
And for me, the other point is to be generous because there's a lot of money out there, and you should mark certificate. See, he doesn't even want his certificate. The other point is that there's a lot of money out there, so you need to come from a place of abundance.